Hi all. So Quora is an awesome place to get your questions answered. However, in recent times, a lot of it is being occupied by trolls and people selling their affiliate courses or their company, for example. And I feel like, especially within the marketing section, that's where it's most prone, especially all those affiliates out there. So in this video, I kind of wanted to go through the top career marketing questions that are on Quora. This is completely unscripted. I'm just going to go on Quora and find out. I might not get the exact top questions, but I'm just going to find the ones with the most followers and answers. So hopefully this video is interesting to you. If you like this type of content, let me know and I will do more of this content. So yeah, let's get straight into it. I won't dilly-dally any longer. Some of these questions I might not be able to answer because, you know, if they're aimed at a CMO, for example, but hopefully I'll do my best. So I'll see you in the video. Alright guys, so we're going to go straight into it. I'm going to go into my space actually. I just realized that, you know, I run a space around social media marketing. A space on Quora is just basically a forum that, you know, talks about specific topics. Generally, I'm just posting stuff around it and sharing it across the space. So yeah, so I'm scrolling down. I'm seeing here that there's 6, 10, 14, 9, 7. So I'm looking for something a bit more. And so 20. 22. Okay, so that's probably the biggest here. So we'll just answer this question. So how do I get noticed on Instagram, gain followers, likes, and audience? I just made an account. Okay, so basically it's a new account. How do you grow on Instagram? So I actually wrote a post around this recently, so this is actually pretty straightforward. So there's two ways to do it, especially if you're new and you don't want to spend any budget. One is, it's a really obvious way, and you have to do it, it's manual, and basically because I used to know I'm very close with influencers. Especially in the beginning, you're just gonna have to like, and you're gonna have to comment on other people's posts. Basically, Instagram's algorithm, if you get more engagement on your posts, Instagram push it out. So basically, that's Instagram saying, "Oh, wait, your post is getting a lot of engagement. That means it's good content. So I'm gonna push it out further with the algorithm." So to do this, you're gonna have to like and engage content in your niche. So, for example, if you're doing a travel blog, so actually, one of my friends is doing a plant one, and her niche is around aroids, I don't know how to say that correctly, but basically she just engaged that community and she's growing heaps. She's already selling a bunch of stuff because her Instagram's profile is linked to a Shopify store, and she's already selling a lot. So she started from scratch, so you guys can do it if she can start from scratch like a week ago. So basically that's number one. So engage stuff in your content, post content regularly so people can come onto your profile and then engage that as well. Number two is, once you get to a certain stage, normally you're at 500, maybe 1k, join an Instagram pod. An Instagram pod is a really easy way to get free engagement for your posts. The only caveat is you're gonna have to do it to other people's posts as well. So basically it's like a 10 to 20 people group that engage each other's content. So in order to push Instagram's algorithm onto it and go, okay, that content's cool. Obviously Instagram doesn't like this, but everyone does it anyway. All the influencers do it. I know big influencers like 52k, 200k to do it. The only thing, another thing to remember is normally you do have a minimum in order to get into those groups. But yeah, so that's the only minimum that you need to have to match. So do number one and then do number two. There you go. So that's Instagram, how to grow Instagram. Still a very big platform to grow these days. It's not saturated as most people will think. So yeah, number one. Okay, so I found this question. I just realized that this video will be half of me just scrolling through questions if I don't cut things out. So I'm just going to cut things out. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. But I found this question. It's got 39 followers. It's not that much, but I think the question is quite interesting. What skills and knowledge would a dream marketing job applicant have? So as someone who's been interviewing and interviewing others, this is a great question. So marketing is what most people think is, you know, throwing ads on things and, you know, putting campaigns together and, like, you know, advertising on Twitch and, you know, that stuff. Ironically, marketing is beyond that, especially if you want to be a successful marketer. Not only should you have expertise, but you should have also a lot of planning skills, being able to project manage agencies and stakeholders. Because as a marketer, you tend to have a lot of stakeholders, especially within an organization, because you're promoting people's content, you're working with technical, you're working with product people, you're working with sales potentially, you're working with other functions of marketing, and you're working with finance and procurement because, you know, you need to get budget somewhere. You can't just work off $0 unless you're maybe a startup. So a lot of it is being able to manage stakeholders successfully, having really good project management, and having a good range of skills. Especially if you want to grow as a manager and beyond, you can't just have an expert. You can't have an expertise. You have two parts of marketing. You have what people have expertise in marketing, which is completely fine if you want to stay in that. But if you want to progress a career, you have to grow yourself. And people have different definitions. Could be called a generalist, could be called a team marketer, T-shaped marketer. There's a lot of ways to explain it. But basically, you should just have a range of skill sets that encompass the whole sets of marketing, from digital to field marketing. That gives you basically a better way to sell yourself, because you basically have knowledge across different functions of marketing. So basically that's it's a good question here. So yeah, hopefully that explains that answer. Okay, so I found this question kind of funny. Once again, hover around 29 to 30. I think especially with marketing careers, it's kind of a more niche topic. You're not going to get as many questions with low followers. So I found this one. How do you get a marketing job at Google? I wanted to answer this because I did actually do a few interviews at Google. I did get a job offer at Amazon. I got to the last stage of Google, didn't get that, unfortunately. However, I think the process is pretty similar in most tech companies. So at Google, I think a lot of the questions they ask me, it depends. So it depends what you're going for at Google. In Google, there are a few functions. Generally, you're going to find a lot of product marketing in Google. You're going to have a growth kind of digital marketing function at Google. And you're going to have a lot of working on the AdWords side. So it could be a mixture of, they call it associates, but it's kind of like half sales, half marketing, honestly. And so those are the three kind of main areas of Google. Obviously, marketing. Obviously, there are a lot of other functions, but if you actually want to get a marketing job, those are the three probably biggest functions you're going to find in order to get a job at Google. And basically how I got through or to the interview stage was just doing an interview. Apply for it. Make sure your resume is very up to date. Make sure you follow specific, I guess, guidelines between how you would structure a resume at Google. I actually had a recruiter from Google who I knew who personally helped me tailor my resume. And ironically, he didn't like one pages. This is actually pretty big for me because I was surprised when I heard about it, because I thought most recruiters liked one pages. But he's a recruiter at Google, and he said that actually having as much detail in your resume is what they like. So maybe that's something you can take care of, you can take and do something with. I personally feel like I still like my one pager, but I did increase my resume to 3 pages for him, and he submitted it for me. And so I think a lot of the times I get surprised by this, and the more I kind of did interviews and just just overall being in the tech space, I think it's really up to the preference of the company. And I think at Google, perhaps maybe him as a recruiter, he might prefer a bigger resume, but never know. I prefer myself a one pager. It's just easy to digest. But yeah, there's no real special secrets about getting into Google. That's just how it is. Make sure your resume is tailored. Make sure your resume is clean. Make sure you have, one of the biggest things to mention is having your achievements and having what you've gained in your resume very clear. So don't simply say you did a campaign, say the KPIs, say what you achieved, and all that stuff. That's going to add a lot of juice onto your resume. So yeah, there you go. So just as this video is going, I just want to show you what exactly I'm doing, just so you can see what I'm doing for the cuts. So I'm actually just taking a look at these questions and then looking at the followers. If it's not a lot, I just kind of skip. So how can I get a level entry? I already kind of answered that. A digital marketing job stable. That's one. So yeah, I kind of skipped that. So yeah, I'm gonna cut this out, but I'm just letting you know how I'm doing this. Cool. So I found this one. So 21 followers. So what are types of entry-level marketing jobs? Just before I get into this question, I know some people might go, "Hey, you can use AdSets or you can use SEMrush or to find these the most followed questions and stuff like that." I feel like this is more organic. Me scrolling down instead of me trying to game the process. That's just like for those who actually kind of will complain about this. So yeah, that's just how it is. So what are types of entry-level marketing? So actually, let's take a look at what this person says. So let's see. Marketing coordinator, account coordinator, communication specialist, outside sales representatives, inside sales representatives. Okay, so correct and incorrect. These two are more inside sales. I wouldn't really count them as marketing. These are like the fake marketing jobs you get, like that says, "Oh, you're a marketer," but to be honest, you're just a salesperson. Communication specialist, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's not a common one. I think these two will be very common. So a marketing coordinator is specialized. It's kind of like a marketing manager, but without the responsibilities of needing to manage a budget and stuff as much. It's more kind of like the lower entry level of marketing when you first start off with. A great job to get in order to progress yourself into a marketing manager role, because you have the responsibility of just having a breadth as becoming a team marketer, especially a journalist marketer, because you're across pretty much everything. Account coordinator is kind of more like sales. It's within agencies. So within marketing, especially entry level, you have 2 areas to go. You can go into corporate, startup, basically working for the company itself, or to agency route, which is basically more specialization. For example, specializing in SEM or Google, Facebook ads, social media even. So you have a lot of specializations. Basically, any type of marketing out there, from social media, even podcasting, you have specializations out there. So you can imagine pretty much just a specialization specialist. So you could be literally an SEM specialist. You could be like a Facebook ad specialist, SEO specialist. So that's like a basic way of imagining what an entry-level marketing job's out there. And honestly, that's pretty much, you can Google these roles. They probably do exist. But yeah, I mean, marketing coordinator is probably the most general one you're going to find in terms of having the most roles, because every company generally has one, because that's just, it's a good way to pitch for an entry-level role without paying them too much, but giving them the breadth of, I guess, responsibilities as you would for someone a bit more senior. Definitely a great entry-level job to start off with if you're looking for one. Okay, so I love this question because it's kind of funny. Do marketing people do anything useful? So this obviously comes from someone who is outside marketing and asking within marketing. It's in job and careers marketing for some reason. So the reason why people might ask this is because of one thing I think a lot of marketers don't do well, and that is they do not show results well. What I mean by this is marketers tend to do a lot of campaigns quickly and try to execute quickly, but they don't tend to look at the results and then become selfish and promote the results. So if you run a campaign, for example, and you perform really well, you want to show the team. You should show the team. You should present a slide on it, have a slide proclaiming the results. I think a lot of marketers don't do this well, to be honest, from working in a lot of teams, especially to each other, especially as well. And honestly, that's how you get promoted. That's how you actually drive yourself to be a great marketer in an organization. It's to be a bit selfish, not egotistic. It's a fine balance between both. You got to be like a bit selfish, but not too egotistic. And promote yourself, because that's how you're going to promote yourself actually as a marketer, and to show others that you're not useless, right? Because this is obviously someone who maybe has a marketing team who he might feel might not be doing things. I'll give you a great example. Salespeople generally think that we're not doing a lot of Google ads, and they always complain to us. But as soon as I started submitting monthly reports to them showing like, this is exactly what we're doing, they stopped complaining, honestly. So yeah, so like you have to be open to showing your results. So yeah, that's a great question actually, to be honest. Alright guys, so I found a really big question. 1.1k followers, this is actually a lot. So how do I start, wait, is this only 13? Oh, it's a comment, right? Okay. How do I start a career in digital marketing? So let's just take a look at the answer here. So the first one, let's just take a look at the first one. So first try Googling the same question, you get a lot of results, that's true. So register for courses, yeah, it can be. Start digital marketing and easy product to master itself, that's true. Start a blog, I agree with that. Check out this, he's just promoting his stuff there. Sign up for email newsletters or blogs, can be true. Go to meetups, yeah, true. Build your online brand presence, that's really big. I'm going to talk about that actually. So yeah, pretty good answer up for this one. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to read this is because, like, I want to see some other people's points, but he's pretty much nailed most of it. So the beauty of digital marketing is you can do it yourself. You don't need something else. Like tech, like if you're a coder developer, you can basically build applications and put on GitHub, for example, or for example, other stuff like if you're UI UX, you can, do mockups and frames and stuff, wireframes and stuff like that. For other job functions, it's a lot harder, like especially if you're working in finance, maybe law and stuff like that. It's a lot harder. So as a digital marketer, we're actually blessed that we have the opportunity to build our own presence from $0 budget. You don't need a budget to build a newsletter. You don't need a budget to learn AdWords. Actually, you do actually. Let's skip that one. You don't need budget to do SEO. You don't need budget to do build a community and stuff like that, and write a blog. So a lot of the stuff you can do, you can start doing yourself with $0 budget. So I think for register for courses, especially if you're new, there's great courses out there. You got Google, who has their own, I think it's called Google Garage. You have HubSpot as well. Inbound Marketer is a really big one as well. All free. And you can start getting the basic concepts of marketing and then start executing. If to build a social media presence, you don't need to do much. There's a lot of engagement, a lot of repetitive work. But once you do it, you understand the concepts, and you also have the brand. One of the biggest things that I learned, especially when I got mentored, was a brand follows you. Your job doesn't, right? If you move to the next job, no, the whole company is not going to come with you, right? The brand, however, of what you build as externally from what you're working on will follow you wherever you go. So building that brand is important, especially even after you get a job. It's still really important to maintain that brand. So yeah, I think there's some really big points here. Definitely look at courses, but also start building yourself as a marketer, building that brand, and start doing it yourself. Okay, so we got a question here, 298, quite a lot of followers as well. So what is the future scope of the digital marketing industry? Now, this is a very, let's look at the first answer once again. So no one knows. We're horrible at predicting the future. Nobody thought Facebook would be big. Nobody knew Google would be that big. That's true. Focus on what works best right now. Keep your eyes open for the next big thing. Things too far in the future are a waste of your time. I agree and disagree with this. The reason why is because if you thought Facebook was going to be big, and then it became big and you hop on that bandwagon, you pretty much are a bandwagoner, whatever you want to call it. You have to take risks in marketing, I think, which is why, especially when I budget for stuff, I do, most of my budget I put into things that have worked, 80%, maybe 90%, and then I chuck the rest into buckets that, you know, could work. Might not work, experiments, for example, because all the, for example, I'll give you a great example, all the big influencers in big, I guess, platforms, majority of them became big because they took a risk and they dived deep early and they got rewarded for it, right? There are a lot of platforms out there that didn't make it big, however, people still grew from it. So, for example, Vine, a lot of people made a lot of videos on Vine, got big from that Vine, from Vines, and then it closed. But they still moved onto other platforms and still maintained their, I guess, you know, their influence. So in this case, I don't agree with some of this thought around, you know, do what's working, because in the end, as a marketer, you have to innovate. You have to look at what's new in market. For example, TikTok is still very big, it's still very organic, and there's still a lot of potential in it. And all the early influencers are getting so much influence right now on that platform, and there's still a lot of time to do it, but all the people will sit back and go, oh, you know, TikTok's still, it's gonna disappear and stuff like that. But let's say in 5 years it doesn't disappear and it's one of the biggest platforms out there for video marketing. Now they're gonna jump on, but it's gonna be a bit too late. Yes, you can still become an influencer in 5 years on TikTok, but it's a lot easier now than later. So I do agree with some parts of it, but also disagree as well. That being said, so what my thoughts around this, I think TikTok, as I've mentioned, is going to become a lot bigger than what people think. Even with all the issues and stuff, it's just way too sticky right now. It's capturing an audience that other platforms haven't been able to do, which is the younger, what do you call them, like Gen Z now? I don't know what you call them. That other platforms just haven't been able to do. So TikTok is definitely a big one. I think a lot of, you're going to see a lot of random, although cryptocurrencies kind of dropped, you're going to see a lot of random platforms that revolve around that stuff, especially NFTs and branding and stuff like that. It's going to be, that's probably a wild card guess. There's a lot of platforms out there that utilize this stuff. Like, for example, BitClout is one that comes to my head. I still think it's very unproven, but I think there's a potential to see those platforms that kind of promote influencers and stuff like that. I think influencer type platforms become probably the next scope as well. So yeah, I think those two probably come to my head immediately. I'll probably take longer to to think of more, so I don't want to waste your time. Okay, and that's it. So hopefully I answered a decent amount of questions. I don't want to make the video too long. I could, keep going for an hour if I really wanted to. If you like this content, let me know. If you want me to go through any other type of Quora questions, I might. Careers looks like it's not that big on Quora. That's probably because people don't expect to get a good answer on Quora. There's a lot of other stuff on Quora potentially. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, and I'll do other stuff on Quora. I think this is a great way for me to instill my knowledge towards you guys, so you guys can learn about anything marketing, startups, finance even. So yeah, I'll see you on the next video.